Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Penetrate or cut through with a sharp instrument. 14th President of the United States, 1804 to 1869. Cut or make a way through. The path pierced the jungle. Make a hole into. The needle pierced her flesh. Move or affect a person's emotions or bodily feelings, deeply or sharply. The cold pierced her bones. Sound sharply or shrilly. The scream pierced the night. The act of applying force to propel something. Push upward. The front of the trains that had collided head-on thrust up into the air. Penetrate or cut through with a sharp instrument. Make a thrusting forward movement. Impose urgently, importunately, or inexorably. A strong blow with a knife or other sharp-pointed instrument. Place or put with great energy. Thrust the money in the hands of the beggar. The force used in pushing. The thrust of the jet engines. Press or force. She thrust the letter into his hand. A sharp hand gesture, resembling a blow. He made a thrusting motion with his fist. Force, molten rock, into pre-existing rock. Push forcefully. He thrust his chin forward. Verbal criticism. He enlivened his editorials with barbed thrusts at politicians. 14th President of the United States, 1804 to 1869. 14th President of the United States, 1804 to 1869. Enter a group or organization in order to spy on the members. Become clear or enter one's consciousness or emotions. She was penetrated with sorrow. Spread or diffuse through. Music penetrated the entire building. Pass into or through, often by overcoming resistance. The bullet penetrated her chest. Come to understand. Insert the penis into the vagina or anus of. Did the molester penetrate the child? Make one's way deeper into or through. The hikers did not manage to penetrate the dense forest. Having a hole cut through. A perforated eardrum. Pass into or through, often by overcoming resistance. Make a hole into or between, as for ease of separation. Perforate the sheets of paper. Give an incentive for action. This moved me to sacrifice my career. Be in a state of action. Change location. Move, travel, or proceed, also metaphorically. The soldiers moved towards the city in an attempt to take it before night fell. The act of changing location from one place to another. The movement of people from the farms to the cities. Cause to move or shift into a new position or place, both in a concrete and in an abstract sense. The director moved more responsibilities onto his new assistant. Perform an action, or work out or perform an action. We must move quickly. The act of changing your residence or place of business. They say that 3 moves equal 1 fire. Have a turn. Make one's move in a game. Have an emotional or cognitive impact upon. follow a procedure or take a course. A change of position that does not entail a change of location. Movement as a sign of life. Progress by being changed. Propose formally, in a debate or parliamentary meeting. Arouse sympathy or compassion in. Her fate moved us all. Change residence, affiliation, or place of employment. We moved from Idaho to Nebraska. Dispose of by selling. The chairman of the company told the salesman to move the computers. Game. A player's turn to take some action permitted by the rules of the game. Go or proceed from one point to another. The debate moved from family values to the economy. Live one's life in a specified environment. She moves in certain circles only. Move so as to change position, perform a non-translational motion. He moved his hand slightly to the right. The act of deciding to do something. He didn't make a move to help. Drive something violently into a location. A conspicuous success. A gentle blow. A score in 10 pins, knocking down all 10 with the first ball. He finished with 3 strikes in the 10th frame. Make a strategic, offensive, assault against an enemy, opponent, or a target. We must strike the enemy's oil fields. Affect or afflict suddenly, usually adversely. Touch or seem as if touching visually or audibly. Find unexpectedly. Remove by erasing or crossing out or as if by drawing a line. Please strike this remark from the record. Cause to experience suddenly. Have an emotional or cognitive impact upon. Form by stamping, punching, or printing. Strike coins. Smooth with a strickle. A group's refusal to work in protest against low pay or bad work conditions. The strike lasted more than a month before it was settled. Stop work in order to press demands. Produce by manipulating keys or strings of musical instruments. The pianist strikes a middle C. Occupy or take on. Strike a pose. Hit against. Come into sudden contact with. Attain. An attack that is intended to seize or inflict damage on or destroy an objective. The strike was scheduled to begin at dawn. Arrive at after reckoning, deliberating, and weighing. Strike a balance. Baseball. A pitch that the batter swings it and misses, or that the batter hits into foul territory, or that the batter does not swing it but the umpire judges to be in the area over home plate and between the batter's knees and shoulders. This pitcher throws more strikes than balls. Cause to form, an electric arc, between electrodes of an arc lamp. Strike an arc. Deliver a sharp blow, as with the hand, fist, or weapon. The opponent refused to strike. Disassemble a temporary structure, such as a tent or a theatrical set. After the show, we'll have to strike the set and pack up. Indicate a certain time by striking. Pierce with force. Produce by ignition or a blow. Strike fire from the flintstone. Have an effect upon. Will the new rules affect me? Have an emotional or cognitive impact upon. Connect closely and often incriminatingly. This new ruling affects your business. Make believe with the intent to deceive. Act physically on. Have an effect upon. The medicine affects my heart rate. The conscious subjective aspect of feeling or emotion. Reproduce by printing. Mark or stamp with or as if with pressure. To make a batik, you impress a design with wax. Dye, fabric, before it is spun. Take someone against his will for compulsory service, especially on board a ship. Have an emotional or cognitive impact upon. This child impressed me as unusually mature. The act of coercing someone into government service. Produce or try to produce a vivid impression of. Impress positively. The young chess player impressed her audience. Phonetics, an individual sound unit of speech without concern as to whether or not it is a phoneme of some language. Logically valid. A sound argument. Measure the depth of a body of water with a sounding line. The subjective sensation of hearing something. He strained to hear the faint sounds. Make a certain noise or sound. Having legal efficacy or force. A sound title to the property. In excellent physical condition. A sound mind in a sound body. The audible part of a transmitted signal. Of sleep, deep and complete. A sound sleeper. A narrow channel of the sea joining two larger bodies of water. Exercising or showing good judgment. A sound approach to the problem. Utter with vibrating vocal cords. A large ocean inlet or deep bay. The main body of the sound ran parallel to the coast. Announce by means of a sound. Sound the alarm. Appear in a certain way. This sounds interesting. Cause to sound. Sound the bell. Complete. Thorough. Politicians have no sound grasp of technology issues. Financially secure and safe. Sound investments. Free from moral defect. A man of sound character. Give off a certain sound or sounds. This record sounds scratchy. In good condition, free from defect or damage or decay. A sound timbre. Mechanical vibrations transmitted by an elastic medium. Falling trees make a sound in the forest even when no one is there to hear them. The particular auditory effect produced by a given cause. The sound of rain on the roof. The sudden occurrence of an audible event. The sound awakened them. Vigorous or severe. A sound thrashing. Pierce with a sharp stake or point. Impale a shrimp on a skewer. Kill by piercing with a spear or sharp pole. The enemies were impaled and left to die. A surgical knife with a pointed double-edged blade, used for punctures and small incisions. An implement with a shaft and barbed point used for catching fish. A long pointed rod used as a tool or weapon. Move quickly, as if by cutting one's way. Planes lanced towards the shore. Open by piercing with a lancet. Lance a boil. Pierce with a lance, as in a knight's fight. A holder attached to the gunwale of a boat that holds the oar in place and acts as a fulcrum for rowing. Small markers inserted into a surface to mark scores or define locations, etc. A prosthesis that replaces a missing leg. A wooden pin pushed or driven into a surface. Succeed in obtaining a position. Informal terms for the leg. Fasten or secure with a wooden pin. Peg a tent. Pierce with a wooden pin or knock or thrust a wooden pin into. Regulator that can be turned to regulate the pitch of the strings of a stringed instrument. Stabilize, the price of a commodity or an exchange rate, by legislation or market operations. The weak currency was pegged to the US dollar. A brass musical instrument consisting of a conical tube that is coiled into a spiral and played by means of valves. A high pommel of a western saddle, usually metal covered with leather. A brass musical instrument with a brilliant tone. Has a narrow tube and a flared bell and is played by means of valves. Stab or pierce with a horn or tusk. The rhino horned the explorer. A device on an automobile for making a warning noise. A device having the shape of a horn. Horns at the ends of a new moon. An alarm device that makes a loud warning sound. A noise made by the driver of an automobile to give warning. A noisemaker, as at parties or games, that makes a loud noise when you blow through it. Any hard protuberance from the head of an organism that is similar to or suggestive of a horn. One of the bony outgrowths on the heads of certain ungulates. The material, mostly keratin, that covers the horns of ungulates and forms hooves and claws and nails. The shedding of blood resulting in murder. Vice President of the United States under Bill Clinton, born in 1948. A piece of cloth that is generally triangular or tapering, used in making garments or umbrellas or sails. Coagulated blood from a wound. Cut into gores. Gore a skirt. Wound by piercing with a sharp or penetrating object or instrument. Remove the tusks of animals. Tusk an elephant. Stab or pierce with a horn or tusk. A hard, smooth ivory-colored dentine that makes up most of the tusks of elephants and walruses. A long pointed tooth specialized for fighting or digging, especially in an elephant or walrus or hog. Pierce with a sharp stake or point. A tool with a conical point that is used to make indentations in metal, especially to mark points for drilling. Make a small hole in something as a guide for a drill. A very high narrow heel on women's shoes. Add alcohol to beverages. The punch is spiked. Any holding device consisting of a rigid, sharp-pointed object. The spike pierced the receipts and held them in order. Pierce with a sharp stake or point. Bring forth a spike or spikes. Fruiting spike of a cereal plant, especially corn. A large stout nail. They used spikes to fasten the rails to a railroad tie. A long, thin, sharp-pointed implement, wood or metal. One of the spikes impaled him. A sharp pointed projection along the top of a fence or wall, or a dinosaur. A sharp rise followed by a sharp decline. The seismograph showed a sharp spike in response to the temblor. A transient variation in voltage or current. Botany, an indeterminate inflorescence bearing sessile flowers on an unbranched axis. Each of the sharp points on the soles of athletic shoes to prevent slipping, or the shoes themselves. The second baseman sharpened his spikes before every game. Manifest a sharp increase. The voltage spiked. Secure with spikes. Sports equipment consisting of a sharp point on the sole of a shoe worn by athletes. Spikes provide greater traction. Stand in the way of. Marijuana leaves rolled into a cigarette for smoking. Stick to firmly. Be a devoted follower or supporter. She sticks to her principles. Stay put, in a certain place. Put, fix, force, or implant. Stick your thumb in the crack. Be a mystery or bewildering to. A lever used by a pilot to control the ailerons and elevators of an airplane. Be loyal to. Informal terms for the leg. Fever left him weak on his sticks. Saddle with something disagreeable or disadvantageous. Come or be in close contact with, stick or hold together and resist separation. A long implement, usually made of wood, that is shaped so that hockey or polo players can hit a puck or ball. A long thin implement resembling a length of wood. Cinnamon sticks. An implement consisting of a length of wood. He collected dry sticks for a campfire. A rectangular quarter-pound block of butter or margarine. A small thin branch of a tree. Be or become fixed. The door sticks, we will have to plane it. Cover and decorate with objects that pierce the surface. Stick some feathers in the turkey before you serve it. Endure. Fasten into place by fixing an end or point into something. Stick the corner of the sheet under the mattress. Fasten with an adhesive material like glue. Stick the poster onto the wall. Fasten with or as with pins or nails. Stick the photo onto the corkboard. Pierce or penetrate or puncture with something pointed. Pierce with a thrust using a pointed instrument. Threat of a penalty. The policy so far is all stick and no carrot. Pierce with a sharp stake or point. To render motionless, as with a fixed stare or by arousing terror or awe. The quantity of a crop that is harvested. He sent the first picking of berries to the market. The person or thing chosen or selected. He was my pick for mayor. A heavy iron tool with a wooden handle and a curved head that is pointed on both ends. They used picks and sledges to break the rocks. Pull lightly but sharply with a plucking motion. Pay for something. Pick up the tab. Look for and gather. Pick mushrooms. The act of choosing or selecting. You can take your pick. The best people or things in a group. Harass with constant criticism. Don't always pick on your little brother. Eat intermittently. Take small bites of. Remove unwanted substances from, such as feathers or pits. A small thin device, of metal or plastic or ivory, used to pluck a stringed instrument. The yarn woven across the warp yarn in weaving. Attack with or as if with a pickaxe of ice or rocky ground, for example. Hit lightly with a picking motion. A basketball maneuver. Obstructing an opponent with one's body. He was called for setting an illegal pick. A thin sharp implement used for removing unwanted material. He used a pick to clean the dirt out of the cracks. Pilfer or rob. Pickpockets. Provoke. Pick a fight or a quarrel. Remove in small bits. Pick meat from a bone. Select carefully from a group. She finally picked her successor. Separate substances into constituent elements or parts. Make a break in. Laugh unrestrainedly. Suffer a nervous breakdown. Discontinue an association or relation. Go different ways. To cause to separate and go in different directions. Cause to go into a solution. Close at the end of a session. Take apart into its constituent pieces. Break or cause to break into pieces. Bring the association of to an end or cause to break up. Break violently or noisily. Smash. Come to an end. Cause to separate. Break up kidney stones. Release ice. Set or keep apart. Attack with or as if with a pickaxe of ice or rocky ground, for example. Destroy the completeness of a set of related items. Come apart. A painful wound caused by the thrust of an insect's stinger into skin. A small amount of solid food, a mouthful. Wit having a sharp and caustic quality. The bite of satire. A light informal meal. A strong odor or taste property. The sulfurous bite of garlic. The act of gripping or chewing off with the teeth and jaws. Deliver a sting to. To grip, cut off, or tear with or as if with the teeth or jaws. Gunny invariably tried to bite her. Cause a sharp or stinging pain or discomfort. Angling. An instance of a fish taking the bait. After fishing for an hour he still had not had a bite. A portion removed from the whole. The government's weekly bite from my paycheck. A wound resulting from biting by an animal or a person. Penetrate or cut, as with a knife. Hit hard with the hand, fist, or some heavy instrument. Someone who takes more time than necessary. Someone who lags behind. Tall coarse perennial American herb having small white flowers followed by blackish-red berries on long drooping racemes. Young fleshy stems are edible. Berries and root are poisonous. A bag made of paper or plastic for holding customers' purchases. Boxing. A blow with the fist. Poke or thrust abruptly. Search or inquire in a meddlesome way. A sharp hand gesture, resembling a blow. Make a hole by poking. Stir by poking. Poke the embers in the fireplace. Insulting terms of address for people who are stupid or irritating or ridiculous. Stab or urge on as if with a pointed stick. A depression scratched or carved into a surface. The act of puncturing with a small point. He gave the balloon a small prick. Raise. The dog pricked up his ears. Make a small hole into, as with a needle or a thorn. The nurse pricked my finger to get a small blood sample. Cause a prickling sensation. Deliver a sting to. Cause a stinging pain. The needle pricked his skin. Obscene terms for penis. To cause a sharp emotional pain. The thought of her unhappiness pricked his conscience. Cause a stinging or tingling sensation. A small sharp pointed tip resembling a spike on a stem or leaf. Make a small hole into, as with a needle or a thorn. Cause a prickling sensation. A tool for making holes or indentations. Deliver a quick blow to. He punched me in the stomach. Boxing, a blow with the fist. Make a hole into or between, as for ease of separation. An iced mixed drink usually containing alcohol and prepared for multiple servings, normally served in a punch bowl. Drive forcibly as if by a punch. The nail punched through the wall. Reduce or lessen the size or importance of. A small hole made by a sharp object. Be pierced or punctured. The tire punctured. Cause to lose air pressure or collapse by piercing. Puncture an air balloon. Loss of air pressure in a tire when a hole is made by some sharp object. Make by piercing. Puncture a hole. Pierce with a pointed object. Make a hole into. Puncture a tire. The act of puncturing or perforating. A difficult problem. Spread or diffuse through. His campaign was riddled with accusations and personal attacks. Separate with a riddle, as grain from chaff. A coarse sieve, as for gravel. Explain a riddle. Pierce with many holes. The bullets riddled his body. Set a difficult problem or riddle. Riddle me a riddle. Speak in riddles.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.